What is going on, YouTube? Hope everyone is doing well. Wednesday morning, getting ready to go train. We've got squats today. I'll be honest, I'm not really excited to train today. I haven't woken up with a lot of intensity, we'll say. So hopefully I can get into a better mindset before we get under the bar, but we're still going to get under the bar. Lost a little bit more bloat. That was good. Sleep was pretty average last night overall. So we've had a good last 2 days. So we're going to try and make it 3 in a row. I'm trying to think if there's any other notes. No. Everything's pretty much the same right now. So that being said, I'm going to drink the pre-workout, get warmed up, get this day rolling, see what we got. So let's go.
All right, YouTube, let's get this training footage review underway from this Wednesday squat day, which I think ultimately turned out to be a pretty solid day training-wise. I have a kind of a wrap-up little vlog about today because I witnessed something during this training session that I'm still kind of processing that threw me for quite the loop, and I'm honestly still feeling pretty worthless as a lifter, but a good story nonetheless. But let's get into the actual training itself. So leg day, super simple warm up. We do sled work forward and back. I did ride on the bike as well for 3 minutes. Tried to get the ankles, the knees, and the hips warmed up and primed. Those are my current areas of focus. Really been feeling a lot of impingement in my hips, about 90 degrees. So kind of trying to work several different areas to see which impacts my hip mobility the most. And I did do some mobility work with a band that I didn't film. From there, it was on to just a quick couple rounds on leg extension and leg curls to get everything primed. We've been doing this the last several weeks, and honestly, one of the best decisions that I've ever made, I think, with my training. Hitting some actual, not even, I would say very moderate sets just to get everything primed. It's worked out well. The sets of 5 are what we had today, and funny thing right here, I almost fell over on my warm-up rep. I was really trying to emphasize feeling like I was sitting back, kind of like visualizing that I was doing a box squat, because I feel like I had been coming forward just a tad bit too much in the squat lately. So wanted to emphasize that feeling, but about fell over backwards. So the working sets today, the weights prescribed were 155, 185, and 205. Anybody that's been watching the channel for a while, I've been following the 531 program for a couple months, and honestly, this was the first time that the weights, when I saw them on paper, I wasn't intimidated by, but I actually kind of doubted that I was going to be able to get them, which is the complete wrong mentality that I have. But when I saw them today, I was like, oh no, this is going to be a challenge. But surprisingly, it went better than I thought. So we went 45 for 2, 95 for 3, 135 for 2 on the warm-up sets, and then we jumped right in. We went 155 for 5, 185 for 5, and then the top set prescribed 205 for 5 or more reps. Everything felt pretty good. Knees felt great. Didn't even notice them. Continuing to work on the hip issues, why that impingement is. Kind of watching my form here. It doesn't really come across, but it's like when I approach parallel, it's just like a wall with my ability to keep going down, and I have to really think about throwing my knees out wide to be able to get that last little bit to get to parallel, and that kind of causes me to fall forward. So I haven't found the solution yet, but we're going to keep searching. So this is the top set of the day, 205. When I got to rep number 3, I felt good. I was like, all right, we're definitely going to get the 5. So we wound up hitting this for 6, and it honestly, once I was done, it was kind of a sudden feeling of, oh, I'm kind of gassed. We were talking about doing some back down sets with high bar, but decided to just pass on those because These sets of 5 got me, and then Caleb hit a PR double for himself. So we just decided to go do some accessories. We took a cue from our deload week last week, where all we did was just spam leg extensions and leg curls, and decided to do that again. So the superset today, all this was posterior chain focused. We went hyperextension, supersetted with leg extension, and then lying leg curls. So we just went those back to back to back. We did 3 rounds on everything, and the goal was to increase the weight or rep each time. And ultimately, that worked out pretty good. I definitely feel my posterior chain today. So we went 45 for 15, 70 for 20 reps, 90 for 10 on the hyperextension. On leg extension, we went 90 for 20, 110 for 25, and 130 for 20. The 110 for 25 was a rep PR, and then the 130 for 20 was a weight PR. So I was really pleased with my leg extensions, and my quads feel definitely like a very good kind of fatigue today. And then on the lying leg curl, we went 90 for 20, 100 for 16, and then the last set I tried to push. We went 110 for 9 reps. I've noticed this before looking back with my training log. I definitely have some sort of wall on the leg curl right around 110. I have noticed that I never have any numbers or sets above that, and then everything with 110 is all super low reps. So I don't know what it is. That seems to be a plateau for me that we're going to try and break through on this 4-week wave. From there, we actually threw in 2 sets of calf raises. Been team no calves for a while, but we decided to start training them. So we went 100 for 15 and 100 for 15. Came home, no abs and no lunges today. Just walked a mile. Came in, did our push-ups. We did 35 today. Chest was super sore from yesterday, so they were moving kind of slow. Did rotator cuff raises. We did 2 sets with the 12-pound dumbbells. Like I said, these were super sore, so it was just honestly trying to get a little blood flow in. From there, it was trying to get prepped for the day. Did our daily stoic, our morning journaling, our training log review, and then wrote out the to-do list for what we wanted to accomplish. And then from there, it was just trying to check it all off. All right, YouTube, what is going on? A little bit later on in the afternoon. Just got home from work. I had a few other things that I was going to film today, but we're not going to do that. There was just something that I wanted to talk about and kind of work out in my head, I guess, as to what I've been thinking about all day. So first things first, this is not a knock on the guy that I'm talking about in the story by any means. So I apologize if it comes across that way. This is more about myself and how I interpret or perceive things that happen and how that affects us, mentally and emotionally, and, how we can use things as fuel or let them set us back. So in the context of what I want this channel to be about, which is, there's a lot of guys that I feel out there like me who feel like they're just exceptionally average and are kind of lost and all that kind of stuff. And then my personal belief that if we consistently push ourselves a little bit, we can probably accomplish a little more than we think of ourselves. And kind of my process and journey with that is what ultimately I'm going for here, channel-wise. But so also keep this in the context of where I'm coming from, which is at my peak strength ability several years ago, where I squatted 355, and how much work that took, right? So just kind of remember that as the story goes along. So there's a guy at the gym today. He's been a regular for about a year before. Super nice guy. Talked to him off and on. Caleb and I are squatting, training some legs, And it was a pretty good squat day, I thought. I hit the 205 for 6, and I was feeling pretty proud of myself. And the leg extensions felt good, all that kind of stuff. He comes over and talks to me and about that he was going to squat today. And he hasn't squatted in years. Those were his words, in years. And I have actually deadlifted with this guy before, and he had asked me to show him how to deadlift. And so I had showed him before, and his, like, if I remember correctly, his first time deadlifting, he pulled like 245 like it was nothing. And I was like, that's pretty impressive. He'd had previous exercise experience. So it wasn't like he just walked in cold, but he said he'd never really deadlifted before. And I did have the thought, I'm like, am I being like trolled here? Because I was on a big deadlift kick then. And I was like, and you know, he just shows up, oh, I've never deadlifted before, and pulled like 245 like it was nothing. And he definitely had more in the tank, and he only stopped going up, he said, because his back was hurting. So today says, like I said, hey, I'm going to squat. First time I've squatted in years. I talked to him a little bit like, hey man, that's pretty cool. Squats, you know, they suck, but they're good, you know, all that kind of normal stuff. And I see him out of the corner of my eye, and he's squatting with 135. And so he repped it several times. It was not the most picture perfect form you ever did saw, but it was pretty solid, you know. And so he comes over and he says, John, my hips are so tight. Do you have, you know, any advice? And I said, hey, I don't really know that much about hip mobility. I'm kind of working on these few things myself. And I gave him what little bit of information that I had. And he's like, oh, cool, thank you. I'll try that out. So I go back to doing my thing on the leg extensions and all that kind of stuff. And then I look out of the corner of my eye. This guy is squatting 315 pounds for reps. Not like 2 or 3 reps, like 6 and 8 reps. And I was just like, I actually asked Caleb, I was like, am I having an episode right now? Is that what is happening here? And Caleb was like, yeah. And I was in the moment. I felt so defeated. I was like, I have been, what I would say is consistently working my butt off to get back to being just a little bit stronger over the last year. And strength has never been my thing for sure. But I was like, man, I was just demoralized. I was like, I've been working super hard, and the best I got right now is 250, and I've been working at this. And he said he hasn't squatted in years, and his hips are super tight apparently, and he's repping 315. I did not know what to think of myself in that moment in regards to being a lifter. I was like, what? Why do I even bother? This was, it was quite shocking. And I know there are just freaks out there for sure that just have it. But just to see that in the moment after coming off of that 205 for 6, it messed me up for a little bit. I've been thinking about it all day, right? And probably much more than I should have. And, you know, kind of occurred to me that it was like, you know, I could let that demoralize me, or I could let that fuel me. And so as I was driving home, I was like, you know what? I'm going to use that as fuel. Like, hey, there is probably so much more that I can do that I have no idea. So we cannot quit here. Like, hey, that's what I'm going to tell myself anyways. But that's just kind of what I wanted to speak on, is to, you know, the importance of how you reframe things in your mind. And, you know, this is more of a message to myself rather than to y'all out there, because it's something that I kind of struggle with it from time to time. Like, hey, it could have gone either way. It could have really defeated me, put me on a bad path, but I'm going to do my best to not let it and choose to see that as like, hey, maybe I can do that. We're just going to keep working. So, yeah, that was the story of the day. It was, I know I rambled there. So, anybody that stuck with me, I appreciate it. So, yeah, that was the thing. Try and use it for fuel, not to let it get you down. So, and I know comparison is the thief of joy. There, when it comes to the world of lifting and athletics or whatever you want to call it, there's just people that got it. And, I'm just going to try and get the best out of myself that I can and understand that it's all relative. So I hope if something like that happens to you, that you kind of come at it with the same thing, because I think that's the way to do it, rather than just giving up hope or something like that. So we're going to take care of a few other items before we head to dinner tonight with our couple friend, all that kind of stuff. So get ready to thrash some shoulders tomorrow. So, as usual, I hope you get one for some better. I hope you get some small wins. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you next time.